Picture this. You've just moved to Italy. You're living the dream, and then your electric bill is wrong. You call the number on the bill. A woman answers. You say, "Scusi," and then your mind goes blank. She's talking, you're nodding into the phone, but you have no idea what she's saying or what's going to happen to your lights. That's the moment when every expat in Italy realizes you actually have to speak this language. Everyone says they love the sound of Italian, and they're right. It's a beautiful language. A lot of Italian words have already worked their way into English too. Most of them, not surprisingly, are about food, which tells you a lot about Italian priorities. And if you're watching this channel, you probably already have a few phrases under your belt. Things like "un cappuccino per favore," or the one that everybody learns on day one, "Scusi, dove è il bagno?" But if you're going to live in Italy for any real length of time, a length of tourist phrases isn't going to cut it. You need to actually speak the language, meaning holding a real conversation, making your needs clear, and the hardest part, understanding the answers you get back. There's this myth that floats around in expat circles, the idea that there are certain cities and neighborhoods where you can get by perfectly well without any Italian at all because everybody speaks English there. I'm not going to tell you that's totally false. There are places, especially in big tourist centers, where you can survive on English for a while because those people need to learn English. But here's what I've noticed. When you hear horror stories about how things went completely sideways for somebody in Italy, like some bureaucratic nightmare, a medical situation, a housing dispute, you almost always find this sentence buried somewhere in the story. And of course, nobody spoke English. Yeah, the moment things get complicated, English disappears, and that's exactly when you need the language the most. I understand why this is intimidating, especially for people coming to this later in life. You might have taken some Spanish in high school, maybe a little French, but very few American high schools teach Italian. So unlike Spanish, where you at least have some muscle memory to draw from, Italian can feel like starting totally from scratch. I want to share what has worked for me because I came to this late. I did not have any great natural gift for languages, but I've made real progress, and if I can do it, you can do it. Here's my Italian background, such as it was. I took one semester of Italian in college. Then I took a summer program in Italy, conversational Italian, combined with art history, as you do. It was a great experience. But then for 20 years, nothing. I went back to Italy a few times for work. I was on archaeological digs a couple times too. And each time I'd brush up a little before I went. But I never really got beyond that level of college Italian, which really wasn't very high to begin with. Then about 2 years ago, I decided to pick it up again and be more serious about it, And it's funny, that happened to be just before the time I started thinking seriously about retiring in Italy. I'll let you draw your own conclusions about whether they're connected. Now, here's the thing I want you to hear, especially if you're feeling discouraged before you even start. Learning Italian today is so much easier than it was when I was in college. It is not even close. The biggest single reason is YouTube. There is essentially an infinite amount of spoken Italian material available to you right now for free on demand. You got Italian cooking channels, Italian news, Italian vlogs, Italians arguing about soccer. Whatever your interest is, it exists in Italian on YouTube, and you can be listening to it tonight. That kind of immersive listening was not available to most people a generation ago, and it is a massive advantage. And most people don't take advantage of it. So let's talk about the tools I used. The first one I want to tell you about is Pimsleur. It's a language learning app, but it works very different from most of the other apps you see. Like most of the apps, and I've tried all of them, they're not really super useful. They tend to focus a lot on vocabulary lists, and that's fine, but it doesn't really prepare you to open your mouth. The Pimsleur app teaches you entirely through listening and speaking. Full sentences and real situations, lots of repetition. So you're not just memorizing words, you're like training your ear to understand spoken Italian. And you're practicing producing it out loud. You're answering questions in Italian. So it means you get a lot of work on your accent as well, which is actually really important. I really enjoyed using it. It fits easily into a commute or just taking a walk or something because it's all audio, so you don't have to stare at a screen. So that's a good one. I'll put a link to it in the description if you're interested. All right, Joy of Languages Italian. Once I finished Pimsleur, I wanted to take a proper course, But going out to class in the evenings was just kind of out of the question. I have a full-time job and a kid, and I do all the cooking at home. It's not going to happen. But I found this online school called Joy of Languages Italian. You've probably seen them on YouTube. They're a real presence there. But their full online school goes a lot deeper than the YouTube content. I'll probably end up making a whole separate video about them because I really feel strongly enough about it. The short version is they use written Italian, spoken, and listened Italian all together. That combination, reading, speaking, and hearing, is the best way to absorb a language. And what I really like about their approach is that there's no emphasis on grinding through vocabulary lists or memorizing conjugations in the abstract. The whole philosophy is learning Italian the way you learned English as a kid, through exposure, through context, and just sort of trying. It's much gentler, and I think it's really effective. I really enjoyed it. You should try it. So, if you're thinking about moving to Italy or just planning a trip, here's my advice. Don't wait till you feel ready. Do it way early. Get on YouTube, download Pimsleur, look into Joy of Languages. If you start now, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, even if the Italy plan never materializes for you, if life goes in a totally different direction, you've still exercised your brain, you've broadened your world a little bit, and given yourself a skill that goes with you everywhere. You genuinely cannot lose by learning another language. So, I want to hear from you. How did you learn your Italian? Where are you right now in the process? And what method works best for you? I read all the comments, so let me know. And I will see you in the next one with an Italian phrase. Alla prossima.